Welcome to Rise Up in Business, the law podcast for small business owners. I'm your host, Tracy Myler-Crane. I'm a business lawyer, an entrepreneur, and very much a realist. Rise Up in Business is designed to share with small business owners important legal information and some clever tips and tricks in short and sharp episodes, no legal jargon. With this podcast, I want to empower small business owners to rise up and take control in their business. I'll be here every Wednesday to tell you what you need to know without sending you to sleep. Let's get into today's episode. Hello everybody, and welcome to episode 15 of the Rise Up in Business podcast. This episode happens to be the final episode in season 2, and can I just say how grateful I am that so many people are tuning in and seem to be taking away real value from what I'm delivering in these episodes. Thank you for the feedback, and thank you for listening. I'm so grateful. In today's episode, I want to talk about selling your business. So episode 1 and episode 2 have been very much on setting up business, protecting yourself in business, prevention being better than cure. But wanting to sell your business is also a reality that us business owners face. And it's really important as well that we get that process right to maximise the value of the business. Once you have absolutely decided that selling your business is the right thing to do, there are some really important steps that you need to take before you can sign on the dotted line, as they say. The biggest takeaway I have for you from this episode is to plan. Plan. Honestly, long-term planning can be the key to a successful sale of your business. It's not uncommon for a business to take up to a couple of years to sell successfully, and honestly, there is no substitute for planning. If you've been following me or listening to other episodes, you'll have heard me say that a lot. First thing to do, if it is the case that you've decided that selling is right for you and your business, is talk to your accountant and your lawyer. Again, having the right team of advisors around you at any stage in business, even this final stage, can be really vital and can make the difference between smooth sailing and not. You need to make sure all of your financials are up to date when you want to sell your business, because naturally this is something that prospective buyers are going to be very interested in. And usually they'll want to see 3 years worth of financials. This includes making sure all of your employee entitlement obligations have been met. So you need to have these ready to go. You need to talk to your lawyer because you need to make sure all your contracts and your agreements are up to date and current. Think about things like a lease over your business premises, if you have one. This needs to be in order because it adds real value to the business. You need to make sure your employee contracts are in place. You need to make sure that if you've got suppliers, you need to have those agreements in place, or distribution agreements need to be updated, and so on. These all add real value to the business and they will form part of your negotiations. So you need to make sure that they're in place properly. If you do have a lease over your premises that you're operating your business from, you need to work with your lawyer to understand what the process is going to be to assign your lease to an incoming buyer. With commercial leases, it's not simply a matter of transferring the lease and notifying the lessor. There are processes that you need to go through in order to make that valid, and this will usually require the consent of the lessor. So it's really important that before you even think about talking to prospective buyers, that you know the processes, the really important processes that you're going to need to take care of in your negotiations. If your business is a business that requires operating procedures and policies, again, you're going to need to make sure that they're up to date and current and properly in place. That is most certainly something that prospective buyers are going to be interested in. Then we move on to the next part of the process, which is deciding what's for sale. So it's not necessarily as basic as it can sometimes sound. You need to consider what the value of the goodwill of your business is going to be. So think of this in terms of the business's reputation. This can be really tricky to attribute a value to, so you should start working on this early, in my view, and that's where your accountant will be of great assistance. You need to identify what plant and equipment you own in your business and what is leased and what will be included in the sale. And then you need to give some really careful consideration to what intellectual property the business owns and start thinking about the value of that. Then we move on to the next step, which is valuing your business. Just like selling a car, you need to have an idea of what it's worth, your high point, your low point, where you're going to start, all of that. So you need to have an indication of what your business is valued at. Again, that is a process where you'll be able to work with your accountant, but it's not quick and it's not necessarily simple. So again, long-term planning, really vital here. Then you get to the fun part, which is the part where you start negotiating with buyers. So at this point, you think about whether or not you're going to try and fly solo to market and sell your business, or whether you're going to retain an agent to help you. Either way, again, proper long-term planning is going to be key here. The next point, and it's really important and something that I think can be overlooked until a little bit later down the track sometimes, which can be unfortunate, is your employees. Take care of your employees. Once you've decided to sell and you've gotten to this part where you're ready to negotiate with buyers, my view is that it's an appropriate time to ask the employees what their position is in relation to staying on with the business or whether they're going to move on. That way, you know what you can be including in the negotiations with potential buyers, and ultimately you'll know what to include in the contract for the sale of the business. This can be particularly tricky when you've got key employees that are really valuable to the business, so you really need to be crystal clear on what it is you can negotiate in terms of employees. That's it. Once you've gotten to that point and you're clear on all of those things, you're negotiating with buyers, you agree on a price, you agree on terms, bring in the business lawyer to prepare your contracts. So your contract for the sale of business is the next step, and that's when the lawyers get involved. So your lawyer will prepare the contract, shoot it across to the buyer or the buyer's solicitor. There's usually a little bit of back and forth, but hopefully if your planning's been thorough and if your negotiations have been thorough, then hopefully there's not too much back and forth for you, and then you can get to the point of exchange. Much like buying and selling a house. You exchange, deposits paid, usually, and then you have a date for completion, and that's the final part. So once you've got the contracts in place, once everybody's agreed, you exchange, then you have peace of mind that you have successfully sold your business. Then you move to the completion date and it's all finalised. Those are the core fundamental elements of what it is you really need to be considering and preparing for when you're wanting to sell your business. So to recap, we've got talk to your accountant and your lawyer to get all of your financials, your agreements and your contracts in order. Decide what's for sale. Place a value on your business, negotiate with buyers, always take care of your employees, and then move to contracts, prepare contracts, exchange and complete. I hope that's been helpful. If, of course, you are in a position where you are thinking about selling your business, then by all means, reach out to your accountant and your business lawyer as sooner rather than later to get that process started. As I've said before, there is no substitute for planning, and selling your business really is no exception. I hope that's been helpful. As always, reach out if you've got any questions. I will catch you in season 3 of the podcast, which I'm currently working on, and I'll be back with you to deliver that in a couple of weeks. That's it for today's episode. Short and sharp, just like I promised. If you liked the episode, be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss any new episodes, and I would be most grateful if you would leave a review on Apple Podcast. As always, remember to keep your business legals in order with my Business Legal Strength Check. Grab your free copy by heading over to my website, tmsolicitor.com.au. I'll catch you next Wednesday. Thanks so much for listening.